Hey everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. And today is the 40th episode of my thrift store haul series, where I share with you guys all the items that I've picked up at my local thrift stores. And actually, some of these are not from my local thrift store because I got these a few months ago now while I was on vacation when I went out to a couple thrift stores. But anyway, today we're going to look at some books I've picked up. I have a manga on the top here that I'll start with. We have some middle grade and then some Star Wars. There's a graphic novel in here. And then we'll move over to the VHS tapes that I found. And this will actually wrap up at least as of filming, all of my VHS tapes that I currently have from thrift stores. So I do have plenty of DVDs over there and a handful of Blu-rays to share from thrift stores. But for episode 40, we're looking at VHS tapes and some books. So let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into my thrift store haul, episode 40. As promised, I will start off with a manga that I found, and frankly, I'm at the point now where I'm not really buying manga anymore, but when you find it for 50 cents or $1, whatever this was, like I said, this was from a non-local bookstore, or a thrift store rather, so this was probably somewhere between 50 cents and $1. I don't know exactly, but I had to grab it when it's that cheap, and it's a series that I've heard of and I've heard pretty good things about. So this is called Toilet Bound. It's a ridiculous name, but Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. I'm terrible. I've probably butchered that and I apologize, but yes, this is another manga, and it's volume 1, I should point out, which is really the only reason I grabbed it. So I'll check it out eventually and see if I like it. I'm actually going to go through all of my manga, and I'm probably going to get rid of 90% of it, if I'm being honest with you, but I figured, you know what, for this, I will pick this up, and I made that decision recently. This I got, like I said, a few months ago, but yeah, I haven't been reading much manga lately, so I figured I don't really need it in my collection anymore. It's actually just been in a box sitting upstairs, and so I need to do something with it, and so I might as well try to get rid of it and give it to someone who's actually going to do something with it. I will hold on to something. Spy Family is definitely staying in the collection, and a couple others I will look through, but that's neither here nor there. This one I will check out before I get rid of. It's a simple one. It's volume 1, so I'll see if this one is any good. This is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun volume 1. Let me know if I've butchered that down in the comments. Okay, moving over to some middle grade, and this is the type of thing that I do want to continue to collect because I love this. This one here is part of the Young Indiana Jones series. This is The Curse of the Ruby Cross by William McKay, and this is spine number 8 in that series. I do have a handful of these, but not that many. There are some that are worth a little bit. They get kind of pricey, some of them, but this I don't think is necessarily one of those. You can see here the list of the first 7 books, or first 8 books, I guess, in that series. And like I said, I do have a handful, but this is from 1991. So these are really cool. You can see this one actually is an ex-library, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, right there. So yeah, but very happy to have this in the collection. This is Indiana Jones and the Curse of the Ruby Cross. These were really cool finds. I found them all at the same thrift store, and it's books 1, 2, and 3 of this kind of a subset from a series that I do collect. We have the Andalite Chronicles. And so this is, of course, from the Animorphs series. Actually, this takes place before the Animorphs books. And so this is a full trilogy of books, all written by K.A. Applegate, just like the original series. So I have book 1 here, which is called Elfangor's Journey. Again, I'm butchering that. And then we have Alaron's Choice, book number 2, and then number 3, An Alien Dies. So I've not read this trilogy, and actually, I still need to go back and continue on Animorphs. I think I left off at like book number 10, if I'm not mistaken. It was really good leading up to it, but at that point, they didn't have any more audiobooks. Well, now I think the entire series is available via audiobook, and it's like a 3-hour audiobook, and if I listen at my normal speed, it takes me about an hour to 15 minutes or so to get through them, so super fast. I do want to keep going through the series. Actually, I think what stalled me was the Megamorphs, because the Megamorphs do not have the audiobooks, I don't believe. I'll have to look into that, but I was at Megamorphs #1, so I do have to read that one first, and then I can get back into the series proper. But anyway, this one takes place before the Animorphs series, and it's a trilogy of the Andalite Chronicles. I thought this was a really cool find. So we have book 1, 2, and 3, the Andalite Chronicles trilogy. This next one was a super random find. I actually found this one and the next one here at my local thrift store, so only 50 cents each. Decided to pick it up, and I hope to get around to this one because it looks really cool. This is Seeking Spirits, The Lost Cases of the Atlantic Paranormal Society. So if you're familiar, this of course are the TAP, so it's the individuals from the show Ghost Hunters, which me and my wife love the series. We've watched, I don't know if we watched every single episode, but we've watched the majority of it for sure. And so Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson wrote this along with Michael Jan Friedman. And this is just a number of cases of theirs that did not make the show. You can see kind of a table of contents there, which is super generic. But yeah, so on the back, it actually shows a little bit more and kind of the types of cases that they're going to be talking about. So I love the show, and I'm really interested to check this out. This is Seeking Spirits by Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson. Another random find, but it is an autobiography of a favorite pro wrestler of mine. This is Wrestling for My Life by Shawn Michaels. So obviously I'm a huge Heartbreak Kid fan. I mean, if you grew up in the era that I did of wrestling, I'm sure you are as well. But yeah, love him. And so I figured I would pick this one up. I don't know that this is really going to be something that I'll love reading because a lot of it I'm sure is going to be based around his faith, which is not super interesting to me, but if there is stuff in here about pro wrestling that I'm interested in, so I figured I'd grab it. Not terribly long, and there are some pictures on the inside, which is always fun. But yeah, love HBK, so had to grab this one. This is Wrestling for My Life by Shawn Michaels. This may be the coolest find in today's video. This is actually a novelization. We have Rocky. So this one was written by Julia Sorrell, based on, of course, the Sylvester Stallone screenplay. This was such a fun find. It is not in good shape, really, at all. It's super yellowed. There is somebody's name and address on the inside, so I guess I won't show that, but not in the best shape. But it is readable, which is what matters to me most. And so this is just a really cool find. I actually just watched Rocky for the first time in full this year, as you guys probably know if you've been following the channel. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to check this one out. Super short, only 138 pages. So very intrigued to see how this novelization of Rocky is. I'm not big on hardcover books, but once it's Star Wars related, I make an exception. This is part of the newest line, the High Republic. This is Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule? Not entirely sure how to say his last name, but yeah, so this of course takes place before the Old Republic, if I'm not mistaken, and is the newest line that they've been working on in the canon series. Usually at the start of these, yeah, here we are. I was gonna say, usually they have like a timeline of all the canon work, and so you can see that there. That's where it takes place compared to the rest of the franchise. I love these, but yeah, so I'm intrigued. I've not read anything High Republic, so hopefully this one will be enjoyable. This is Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. I'm gonna go Soule. This last book-related find was actually from the Goodwill outlet that we went to down in Columbus when we were down there. Again, not in great shape, but I paid, literal pennies for this. Probably no more than a dime for this. And it's a very kind of well-regarded graphic novel. We have A Tale of the Batman, Gotham by Gaslight. And this one is by Brian Augustine and Michael Mignola wrote this? I did not know that. Of course, from Hellboy fame. I didn't even realize that. But anyway, I'm not a Hellboy fan. I've tried reading that series multiple times. The movies, not a big fan. But great, it's great to see something else by him. Maybe I'll enjoy it more. But anyway, yeah, so here is some of the artwork in this. And like I said, I've heard really good things about this. There is a movie based on this as well, which I believe I actually have, if I'm not mistaken, behind me here. So this is really cool. Like, really looking forward to checking this out. Such a cool find for like I said, literally pennies, maybe a dime, if at most. So this is Gotham by Gaslight. I guess before I move on, I should mention, because it's kind of interesting what this is about. Essentially, this is Batman, but placed back, hundreds of years at the time of Jack the Ripper. And kind of a what-if story goes on here. So I should have mentioned that in the main rundown of it. But anyway, let's move on now to the VHS tapes. Before I get into these, I'll mention I have changed my collecting habits, not with just books, but also with VHS tapes. As people have pointed out in a lot of other VHS hauls, they take up a lot of space, and I'm running out of space where I keep them, and I don't want to expand that section too much. So instead of buying anything that looks interesting to me on VHS now, I'm going to be very selective of what I grab. I want it to be genre-based, so a horror, fantasy, or sci-fi, or something that I am just extremely nostalgic for. So I went through all of the tapes that I have in my collection currently. I have like 80 that I'm getting rid of, which is insane. I had a bunch that I hadn't even shown you guys yet. I actually got rid of some of those as well. So what you have left here, the stack I'm going to show you today, is what is staying in the collection, at least as of right now. I always reserve the right to get rid of anything and everything in my collection. I am always buying and I am always purging. That's just the way it is with my collection. You don't have to collect that way. It's not the right way to collect. It's just the way I collect. So what you have left are 7 VHS tapes that, again, at this point are staying in the collection because they fall into one of those categories. But first up here is a movie that I used to watch when I was a kid, and I never actually owned this before. It was always on TV. My mom, I think she recorded it on a VHS tape for us back when, and that's how I always watched Alice in Wonderland. So this was my first experience with this show, and it actually has like Whoopi Goldberg in this, Ben Kingsley, Christopher Lloyd, just an excellent cast on this. And who is this directed by? Nick Willing. So that's not a familiar name to me, but yeah, this is how I know Alice in Wonderland. And so I was really happy to come across this for 50 cents at my local thrift store. And I'll mention all of these VHS tapes. Actually, that's not true. This one is from my local store, but not all of them are. But anyway, yeah, so happy to have this one in the collection. Very excited to revisit this. I really want to show this to my daughter alongside the Disney version and just see what she thinks of it. But yeah, very happy to have Alice in Wonderland on VHS. Here's another one from my local store, and not in the best shape. As you can see, it does have a hole in the back there. It's almost like a remainder mark for VHS tapes. It's very strange. But anyway, this is Monster Bash. And this has like 3 different, no, I guess just 2 different shorts on it. Ducky Horror Picture Show and Frankengoof. And this is familiar to me, especially like the Frankengoof character there. And so I really think I watched this when I was a kid. So I decided to hold on to it and check this one out. This is only 44 minutes long, so it is pretty short, but I think this is going to be a really fun one to watch with the kids. This is Monster Bash. This is a really cool find, in my opinion, because it's a widescreen VHS tape, which you do see them, but they're not as common as full screen. And so this is Star Trek Episode 6, The Undiscovered Country. Now, I would love to have all of the Star Trek movies on VHS, so this is a step in that direction. I do have a handful of them in my collection right now, but I didn't have Episode 6, especially didn't have it in widescreen. And as it says on the back here, it's presented in letterbox, so the black bars on the top and the bottom are normal or expected, whatever it says. Yeah, normal. So yeah, very happy to have this one in the collection, actually in very good shape for what it is as well. So cool find. Star Trek Episode 6. So I guess technically these next 2 don't fall into those categories I was talking about because this is an action movie, but this is just too cool. I'm very excited to have this in the collection. I found Lara Croft Tomb Raider on VHS. So we're getting to the kind of the later stages of VHS by this point, and I have kept some just because of that. They're a little bit harder to find. Not that this one necessarily is, I don't know, but I decided to hold on to this one because it's Lara Croft, and I really enjoy these movies. I just showed the other day from Hamilton Book. I picked this one up on 4K, so I have it from VHS on to 4K now. But yeah, really cool find. It actually still has the old Blockbuster sticker on it, which honestly, not the biggest fan of. I would much rather this not be there, but you know, it is what it is. It doesn't actually, I was going to say how much it was, but it doesn't show on the back here. But it has a date of January 4th, 2002. So hopefully this 22-year-old VHS tape will work for me. But anyway, cool find, Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. I decided to hold on to this next one because it's film noir, I believe, and it has Robert Mitchum in it, who is just a brilliant actor, as I've talked about recently here. But this is called Farewell, My Lovely, and I don't own this in any other form, so I decided to hold on to this one because it just looks really interesting to me. Like I said, I don't know too much about it, but has an excellent cast, and it just looks very pulpy, which is good enough for me. I'm just super excited to check this out. We have Farewell, My Lovely. So these next two definitely scratch that nostalgia itch for me, and this one here actually I owned already, but it was in widescreen, and I thought, you know what, It was 50 cents, why not? Jurassic Park, and this is the standard VHS release of it. Like I said, I think I already owned this and it was in widescreen, but I decided to grab this one and just, you know, keep it in the collection because it's really good. Really cool to have the standard full screen version, and it's in really good shape for what it is. Much better condition than my widescreen version. You can see a little bit of a flaw up top there, but other than that, this thing is just in great shape. And of course, this is how I first watched this movie, so very nostalgic for me. So this is Jurassic Park. Last but not least for me today, another one that I believe this is actually a condition upgrade for me because I had a second one over there that I ended up getting rid of because this one is in great shape. But we have Batman, the OG, right? The 1989 Batman, one of my all-time favorites. I used to watch this VHS tape at my uncle's house more times than I could possibly count, and just that cover art, that is just iconic to me. So happy I was able to find this one, and again, in much better shape than the other version I had. So yeah, very happy to have this in the collection. I love the Batman logo on there. It has the yellow on it. This is a nice VHS tape. So yeah, very cool ad, at least in my opinion anyway. We have Batman 89 on VHS, and that is going to wrap up everything that I found at my local thrift stores recently. All right, so that is going to do it for today, guys. I'm not going to re-hold everything up because it's an awkward stack today, but you saw it all earlier. So let me know down in the comments below anything in this pile that you recommend I put at the top of the list. Is that manga any good? Have you ever seen Farewell, My Lovely? It just looks really cool. So let me know what your thoughts are on those and anything down in the comments. I appreciate any and all support down there. So thank you guys so much for all of that. Before you guys take off, I'll just encourage you all to consume some media today. Thanks again for watching and making it all the way to the end here, and I will catch you all next time.